Hello, it's Richard at Richard's Guitars, and I've been getting my head into a pickle, trying to give you an update to that last video I did about the. In fact, I'll put the clean on. So it was this. If you don't remember, it was a little puzzle you had was 9th fret on the D string and the 8th fret on the G string. Those two notes, okay? And we played it from the A. And it made this lovely wishy-washy sound when we went from just sliding it down 2 frets. And I was trying to get you to tell me why that was special and why it sounded nice. One person got the answer right. I'm not quite sure whether, I think it's there. So if I'm looking, I think that's correct. Yeah. One person got it right. And this is the crazy thing about theory. Obviously, the whole idea of these videos is they're meant to be short, but everything that I say then spears off into a million different kind of little avenues of what we can talk about. And I'm really struggling to keep this on track. But what was I just saying then? Yeah, that somebody got it correct. Obviously, it just sounds nice, right? So I understand the logic that it just sounds nice. So if it just sounds nice, just play it, right? You know, why analyze it? Why get into the whole debate of what it is and who cares how it was produced? But if you know what makes something right, it's like having the ingredients to a cake. If you make a cake and it works, great. But if you don't know why it worked, it's very hard to create that cake again. It's very hard to bake a cake as good as the last one that you made. And that's basically what theory gives you. So in a nutshell, and I'm not, again, these videos, I'm trying to understand what people want, which is not to be too involved. And I can always maybe show someone more depth in another way somehow, but let's just keep it simple. These notes, the reason why these notes sounded nice is obviously they all work together. They're harmoniously working together. So they just work. So it's one of those things where we can just go, yeah, they sound nice. But the reason is they actually all come from the key of E. And if they come from the key of E, you'd play the E major scale. So if I started from an E here, those are the notes that those chords come from. But the drone note, the note that we're listening is the A. So we know there are notes that work in the key of E, but A is the center of this piece, this backwash. So therefore, if we find out where the A is in the key of E, it's here. It's the 4th note of the scale. Okay, so what we're saying is we're playing in the key of E, but the center of the song seems to be tonally based around the A. All right, clear as mud. Now, the point being is, if you play from A to A in the key of E, it would sound a bit like this. And if you were to break that scale down, you would find out it just sounds just like the major scale, but it has only one difference. And that one difference is this note here, the 4th. The 4th note of that scale that is what creates the Lydian mode, okay? So a mode is like a scale within a scale. It is a starting point within a key. It is a tonal shifting. Even though you're in the key of E, it doesn't sound like you're just playing an E major scale because your whole reference, your whole focus is going towards a different point in that scale, which for us on this occasion is an A. So if we go back to here, what we're hearing is that sharp 4, which again, if we look at it from an A, is there. And if we have the A, this note here, we can just work it out as a 9th from the A. So we've got a root, a 9th, and a sharp 4. Okay, so root 9 sharp 4. So if that's a 9, that's going down to a root. So 9. So the 9, it's like I always talk about a ninth being a sweet tension. Kind of works, even low pitch, ninths work against the root, and then back down to the root. So that's bound to work. And this one here is our sharp 4 going down to the major third. So if you've got a ninth going to the root and a sharp 4 to the major third, all at the same time, it's going to sound great, and it's going to sound wishy-washy and lovely, because the Lydian scale is the wishy-washy scale. it's the kind of mystical. It's used by people like Steve Vai and I suppose Joe Satriani. And whenever you hear a kind of a sort of mystical, exploratory, it's almost like drifting through space. This is Lydian mode, and I put a bit of, I think, now. So how do you play over this? This is simply arpeggiating through those same 2 chords, and they're looping. So I used a Mooer looper pedal. A Mooer micro looper, very cheap. Loopers are ridiculously important pieces of kit for this reason. You can just experiment till your heart's content with seeing how musical phrases and ideas work. Without a looper, you really are in trouble. If you like me, you play on your own. My difficulty then was, how do I show you? Well, a really important part of the in terms of keeping this simple, a really important part of this is just to simply understand that sharp 4. So if I show you, there's the A, and that is now, we now know that we've got that sharp 4 element and the ninth going down to the root and the major third of the chord. So these are like a kind of combination of chord tones and sweet tonalities that work against the root, the A. So if I, in the lead part, if I'm playing the root, the sharp 4 is what absolutely differentiates this mode. So every time you ever want to make something sound Lydian, you play a major scale, but you change the 4 to a sharp 4. That's simply it. That is all you do. So if I want to go to the root, and then I go to the 5th, because you've always got a 5th in the scale. Yeah. 1 semitone down. That is it. Now we have Lydian. I resolve to the 3rd. Root, 3, sharp 4, 5. Maybe octave. Okay. So you just need to know the sharp 4. This is the killer point. Lydian mode. The rule book for Lydian mode is major with a sharp 4. Okay. Once you know that, it gets insane, because there is so much you can do. So for example, we know we're in the key of E, right? When you play an E major pentatonic scale, because we're in the key of E, remember, it sounds way better. E major pentatonic sounds fantastic over Lydian, okay? It doesn't include the sharp 4, but it has a few. So we have, again, this is, I don't want this to turn into a great big long video, but let me just play it. Pentatonic. So for example, there's reasons, because it's the way, what you got to remember is, even though we're playing E major pentatonic, it's how that E major pentatonic connects to the 4th chord in the key, the A, right? So all of a sudden, this scale that you've been playing country licks forever is no longer a country lick thing. It's a beautiful melodic. So let me just try and play a few things. Okay. I could go on all day just playing that pentatonic, right? And you could too. Isn't that amazing? Nothing but major pentatonic there. I better stop the video there because there's so much more I want to tell you, but that is going to be it. Rule book: when you're playing Lydian, use the major pentatonic from the key that you're playing in. So in our case there, we were playing A Lydian. So we're playing over an A major chord. It's A, right? But we're not going to play an A major pentatonic scale because it sounds boring as hell. You know, it's like, I could play something over there. I don't want it to turn into a little country lick. So much easier playing the E major pentatonic scale. Totally different. Sounds completely different because the way those notes are interacting against that A are so much more fun. So that's where theory helps. If you're playing it, if you want to play Lydian, use the one chord as a reference point, maybe, as if that makes sense to you, and use the pentatonic scale as a starting point. And then what you want to do, little bonus thing here, is find out where the sharp 4 fits relatively into that scale. I'll quickly do that as well, because this really shouldn't be in this video. We'll do it. So it's here. Okay. So there it is. There. I found it. See, because I don't play this every day. I'm just doing it. I'm learning it with you. So look. Yeah. So my pentatonic. Okay. So now I know that that's the sharp 4 to 5. Because it always is to the 5 next to it. So that makes sense why that's a 5, because it's resolving. And now, because I know where that note is, I can find the octave higher. Bye.